Thanks everybody for coming. When I was asked what topic I might want to speak to you all about today, and reflecting back on who I was when I was at ASU, and the lessons that I've learned along the way, the thing that really stuck out to me is the concept of trust. This is something that I've spent some hard lessons in my career learning, and it's something that I feel like most young people struggle with. And I'll get into more of the reasons why, as young people, we tend to struggle with trust and how to improve the impression that people have of us in terms of trustworthiness. But this is an area that I feel pretty passionate about. There are frameworks around trust that I use frequently in my career, both in terms of giving feedback to people that I've mentored, as well as applying to myself in my career and in my life. And so that's the topic that I really wanted to focus in on. My own background, I am alum from W.P. Carey. I did spend some time at the engineering school before I realized I was in the wrong discipline. I really like the intersection between technology and business, and so I've kind of straddled that line my entire career. I did spend some time after graduating here in the Valley at Honeywell. Went through many roles in a very short period of time there. Then I went to Columbia Business School. I got my MBA in New York and went to work for McKinsey & Company. That's a consulting firm, management consulting firm, and there I focused on the financial services industry. And I was also in their business technology office, and so I was again kind of straddling the worlds of finance and tech. I became an associate partner there after 7 years and decided to leave. Joined a hedge fund in New York. We were a $20 billion fund, and we focused a lot on fintech and payments. I really focused on the payments space. So I was an analyst there for about 4 years. And then left, joined Dash back in 2016 and became the CEO of the Dash Core Group in 2017. And it's been a pretty wild ride, as you could imagine. So what is Dash? Dash is a digital currency. If you've heard of Bitcoin, it's similar to Bitcoin. Dash focuses on being a great payments mechanism. So we've built in features that make it more usable as a form of payment. The transactions are nearly instant, and they're very low cost. We also focus a lot on usability to access not just the geeks of the world, but everyday users that this can benefit their lives. And I'm happy to talk more about Dash and what we're doing there, kind of in the Q&A section. I'm not the CEO of Dash, I'm the CEO of Dash Core Group. Dash is a network. And Dash Core Group is just one of many entities that serve the network. We're a really important one, though. We developed the software that runs the network itself. It's open source software. Anyone is free to download and operate a server on the network, but we're the team that basically develops that. So with that, I'll go ahead and get started on trust. So building trust is really important in any relationship that you have. This presentation is primarily focused on trust as it relates to your career. But why is it important? Well, the first reason is that it affects your candidacy for getting a job in the first place. You are establishing trust in the process of interviewing for a position and in preparing for it. It increases your promotion opportunities and the opportunities you have to get raises and increased responsibilities. It expands your circle of supporters, people that are looking out for you in the organizations that you work for and in the organizations that you interact with. It leads to more resilient relationships relationships that will endure longer spans of time, that will endure bigger shocks to the relationship. It helps you to accomplish your goals, whether that's making a sale. If the other party trusts you more, it can help in your ability to make a sale, or in conducting teamwork-oriented activities in achieving your goals. It reduces the risk to your own reputation. If you have a reputation of trust and you fail at something, you're insulated from that failure. It allows you to take greater risks in your career. It allows you to stick your neck out and really go after big opportunities. It also makes you a better manager. If you're managing other people and they trust you, they will share information with you. They will share information about what's going on in their role and in their lives. They'll seek your counsel, and that will help you to develop them. It will help you position yourself to move on to other things if you've got team members that are ready to take your place. I've seen this issue crop up time and time again, where managers are so critical to their role that they can't get a promotion because they haven't developed anyone underneath them to take over. And then the last one is, it results in a halo effect across the entire organization. If I'm out representing my organization and I'm doing it in a way that establishes trust with the other entities that I'm dealing with, the entire organization is benefiting from that, and I'm adding value to the entire reputation of the company. So this is really, really important. And I bet that we don't spend very much time thinking about our actions and whether or not they are the right actions to instill trust. And I know that because I see it every day. I see people making mistakes, and I see people not taking the time to really think deeply about the effect that they're having. So why is that? Why don't we focus on trust? Well, the first thing is, it's a really abstract concept. It's even more abstract than emotions. If I ask you, hey, why are you happy today? You can probably say, well, I had a really great run this morning, and I feel good, and I just found out that my parents are coming to visit, and you can identify it. If I ask you, hey, why do you trust this person? Well, I don't know. They seem trustworthy. I think they're trustworthy. I've had good experiences with them. You can't really put your finger on it as easily because it's very, very abstract for most of us. So it's hard to evaluate how we're doing if we can't even evaluate other people and why we trust or mistrust them. It's not really a problem or a task that we're given to go solve. No one ever sits down with you and says, hey, you really need to work on trust. You need to work on being better at building trust with people. That's not feedback we ever get. We all think we're trustworthy, and we all don't think that we necessarily need to work on it. There's almost never an explicit component in any evaluation that we ever take that includes trust explicitly. So whether you're talking about a standardized test like the SAT or a license exam to be able to do a certain job, classroom grades, your work job evaluations, none of them really evaluate trust. And it's not taught. There's no trust class that you can go to at ASU. Except today, yeah. So there's lots of reasons why this is ignored, despite the fact that it's one of the most important things to your career. So there's actually an equation for trust. It breaks down into 4 main components, and there's subcomponents under each of these. You can learn more about it if you want to. There's great books on it. You can Google it. There's lots of good material out there. But the trust equation, or trust quotient as it's sometimes called, is this. And the first element to it is credibility. This is the thing that we all spend the most time on. You're spending 4 years here specifically to address your credibility, to get that diploma, to get the doctorate that you can There you go, I'm calling you out. This is licenses to be able to do certain jobs. This is skill sets, hard skills, and experience. This all goes on your resume, and it also comes out in the form of being credible when you're talking about a subject matter. And so this is what we tend to focus a ton of our energy on, is building credibility. And it does take time. When you're starting out in your careers, you're not going to have the highest level of credibility in the room. That just comes with the territory. But I have no doubt that you're going to work on credibility over time. And it's also the most overrated. This is what your employer is going to focus a lot on, building your skill sets, sending you to training seminars, and they're going to put a lot of emphasis on building up your credibility. But it's not the only component. The second one is reliability. This is an area that the people in this room probably score pretty well on. You're able to get into college. You're able to not get kicked out your freshman year for not showing up to class. So you're already doing something right. This is the category that most people do really well. You show up on time, you do good work, and you do what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. Being reliable is a really important component to being trustworthy. Intimacy. This is probably, for most of you in this room, your biggest opportunity to improve. And obviously, in the context of work, intimacy can mean a lot of different things. Technically, I suppose it could mean physical intimacy, but I don't recommend that one. So what are we talking about here with intimacy? Well, when a lot of us think about an intimate relationship, we're thinking about, well, I'm sharing a lot of personal information. And I have a lot in common with this person, and we're able to build rapport. And that can happen. You can find people that you have things in common with beyond work, and you really do connect on a topic. But it doesn't have to be that. It can be any type of opening up and sharing vulnerabilities. So when you're entering a negotiation and you had a really bad experience last time with this individual that you're negotiating against, you can go into it and shield yourself and not share much information and just try to get the best price possible. Or you can open up and you can say, hey, you know, this last time, I just want to be frank, it really felt like we were being beat up on price. And gosh, I don't know what was behind that. I'm really fearful going into this one that we're not going to be able to reach an agreement. That can allow your counterparty to open up too. They're going to feel more comfortable if you're exposing information to expose themselves and say, well, you know, honestly, I really felt like you guys were trying to package in a bunch of stuff that we didn't value. Oh, really? Now you can enter the solution space and you can start to work on the problem. And you can say, well, you know, what are the things you don't want in here? Maybe I can go back, talk to my manager. This is the way that we package things, but maybe we can make an exception. Peel some of the stuff out you don't care about and lower the price. So unless you are willing to be vulnerable and share information, you're not going to develop that intimacy that leads to trust. So this is also an area that men struggle with in particular. Intimacy comes in a lot of different forms. But men, especially in our society, grow up learning that showing emotion is weakness. Showing vulnerability is weakness, and those aren't masculine qualities, right? I grew up in a household where if I scrape my knee, shake it off, man. Or if my feelings were hurt, man up. And a lot of us do experience that. And so this is an area where most people, not just men, but in particular men, studies show, really struggle to develop intimacy in a professional environment. And I bet if you take a hard look, you'll see a lot of missed opportunities with the people that you work with the teammates that you have, to share how you feel about the interactions that you have with them. And when you share that information, you can really start to solve the problems. The last one is self-orientation. And self-orientation is a killer. This can destroy the outcome of trust. If you act in your own self-interest, especially to the detriment of someone else, you are completely destroying any hope of trust. And it'll stay that way for a long, long time. Even the perception that you are doing this can be incredibly corrosive to the amount of trust that you're able to develop with that other person. One really obvious example is in personal relationships when someone cheats. There's nothing more self-oriented than cheating. But this extends into the business world too. And if you are behaving in a way that is perceived to be in your own best interest and not in the interest of the other person, or against the best interest of the other person, you can kiss any chance of trust goodbye. So beyond women doing better at this, primarily due to intimacy, we also improve as we age. Statistically, as we get older, we get statistically significantly better at developing trust. And this speaks to what I was talking about earlier, that you really learn to develop trust over your entire lifetime. It's really hard to learn. You learn through experiences. And as young people, we tend to be a little arrogant about it and say, well, I'm trustworthy, but are you doing the things necessary to demonstrate that you're trustworthy? And I think that this is an area that, it just takes such a long time because of the abstract concepts of trust to really get good at it. But what that proves is that you can learn to develop trust. And it proves that this is a teachable thing. We just don't focus enough on it. Now, what's great about trust building is that it can impact any of your relationships. It develops longer lasting, more enduring relationships, more meaningful and enriching. You get better cooperation out of people and less pushback, less blocking. And it's applicable not only in your personal life, but in social organizations that you might be involved with, professional life. It is broadly applicable. And so I would encourage you, if this is something that's resonating, to check out books on the subject. In terms of a career book, there's one called The Trusted Advisor. And it's really aimed towards people that are in closer to an advisory type role with clients. But that environment is probably the most trust-based environment. An advisory relationship is about the most trust-based relationship in the business world. And so if you're thinking about consulting or any type of advisory type role, or even looking to move into a management position, this is something that I would really encourage you to spend a bit of time learning more about. So hopefully this was enlightening for some of you. I'm happy to talk more about any questions you have about trust and how it can apply in the workplace. any clarifying questions on any of this. I'm also happy to answer any questions on the world of cryptocurrencies, the Dash project in particular, or anything else that's on your mind. So hopefully.